A song released in 1985 took 37 years to reach #1 on the charts in 2022. How is that possible? Through Idea Emergence. It's how Kate Bush's song, Running Up That Hill, emerged into being. And it's how her song, long forgotten by most people, re-emerged. It's how that song merged 37 years later into something distinct from the sum of its parts in Stranger Things Season 4. Artistic expression isn't about whittling away ideas until you get to some lifeless end product. It's about the emergence of ideas and inspirations over time, filtered through the lens of your unique perspective, or whoever's in the creating seat, their unique perspective. And what I'm trying to express both in this video and in countless other places is that the creative process is an emergent one. And this is not only closer to the heart of the matter, but it's incredibly empowering, and I hope to share that in this video. So now I'd like to turn it over to Definition Nick to get an actual definition on idea emergence. Nick? Thanks, Nick. Idea emergence is the process of how ideas you encounter go from the nothingness to the somethingness, and how those ideas grow in richness, complexity, and personally meaningful value over time. And back to you. Thanks, Nick. So, idea emergence is how things form from merging your personal uniqueness with your personal experiences. And that's why Kate Bush's song plus Stranger Things is the perfect microcosm to explore the wondrous power and unpredictability of idea emergence. So let's get into it. All right, so Kate Bush's song, Running Up That Hill, originally released in 1985, and it resonated with a lot of people, but it didn't climb to #1 on the charts. And in fact, in the wide arc of 80s music, Kate Bush was not on most people's lists of favorite artists. Sure, the people who had good tastes, she was on those lists, but not on mine. And I would think of myself as a lover of random 80s pop music songs, but we all have blind spots. But now let's zoom out. And before Kate Bush could even write and perform her song, she had to be inspired. She had to live in the world and experience it. And her song is what emerged from mixing her uniqueness with her personal experiences. Now for the rest of us, her song became something we could experience ourselves, that we could grasp. It became an artifact, an object of our attention, and it could inspire us. In this case, idea emergence was how a song emerged from the nothingness into the somethingness through the artistic expression of one Kate Bush. So in 1985, it made a splash, but then other shiny songs arrived, and Running Up That Hill got buried for most of us, only to be rediscovered 37 years later thanks to its placement in the TV show Stranger Things Season 4. Okay, quick side note. The Duffer Brothers will get all the credit as showrunners, but we have Nora Felder to thank. Nora is the music supervisor on Stranger Things. I worked with her on 2 separate TV shows, and she's a master at what she does, which includes creatively sourcing songs for the showrunners to approve. In this case, I would bet money that Nora was the force behind Running Up That Hill being rediscovered 37 years later. So I just want to say thank you, Nora. And here's another thing, Stranger Things, it's not a remix. People are like, oh yeah, it's remixing the 80s. It's not some divergence convergence thing. What it is the wondrous emergence of people, ideas, and artifacts, objects of attention, all clustered and clumped together to generate something distinct, a wildly popular TV show. You may be wondering then, well, what makes this emergence? It's because it is distinct from the parts that make it up. And the parts, they still stand on their own. For example, Running Up That Hill still stands as its own unique artifact. The Duffer Brothers still remain unique people, so does Nora Felder, and Netflix is still a company. But the combination of these elements, plus countless more, birthed something new, something distinct and unique, and that was Stranger Things Season 4. It carries its own story, context, and emotional impact. And in that way, it's become its own artifact. That's idea emergence, and it works whether we want it to or not. It works just as well for the regurgitators as it does for the rebels. And if you don't want to be a simple content regurgitator out there, the solution is just as simple. Add your unique perspective, your insights, and ultimately your taste. So that way, in another 30 years, Netflix 2.0 and a new set of twin creators can combine forces with another music supervisor. They can remix the remix of the remix from their own unique perspective and potentially inspire another generation to be running up that hill. But now I'd like to ask you, what ideas resonate so strongly that you feel compelled to immerse yourself in them? Well, then do that. Even if you don't know what your unique perspective is, right? Let's not get hung up. By exploring it, by wandering around it, by tinkering with it, you won't be able to help yourself. You'll have developed your perspective and in the process honed your taste. All right, but now here's an exercise for you. What are you working on right now? How are you encountering ideas and inspirations? How are you merging your ideas and inspirations with your unique perspective? And if you need a prompt, try this. What's something that got you really excited one day? Just take a moment to think about a different time in your life. Maybe you have a note about it, or maybe it's just a feeling. And it's okay if it got buried for years, because just like running up that hill, you can always rediscover your thing and merge it with your unique perspective at this moment in time and make an impact in your world. And what's wild about this is, without Ithaca, there would be no story of the Odyssey. And without the story of the Odyssey, there would be no story of Ulysses by James Joyce. And this goes on and on and on. There's always something that inspired something else. It's a remix merged with your unique perspective in the time that you live, emerging into something new. And that's the wondrous power and unpredictability of Idea Emergence. So I hope that you are leaving this video better than you found it. And before we end it, I'm just going to go into a little bit of extra credit. We'll go backstage into the backstory of where Idea Emergence as a term came from. Okay, for everyone else who stuck around, just for a little bit of backstory, around 2020, the speed that we could create and connect notes reached really fast speeds. It basically broke like the thinking sound barrier, and suddenly I could see my connected notes were not just grouped next to each other, they were actually influencing each other. And that was like nature. Because in nature, you have these countless organisms that are interacting with other organisms in countless ways. And what emerges? It's a jungle, it's a forest, it's an ecosystem. And when I was working with my digital notes, I was seeing the same things that happen in nature happen with my notes. So in 2020, this was using Obsidian, and in mid-2020, I coined the term Idea Emergence to describe this phenomenon, and it's kind of taken on a life of its own. But to my surprise, it actually has implications outside of our notes. It really describes how ideas emerge everywhere, in all parts of society. And now I feel like I'm more able to rapidly and deeply understand the texture around an idea, like where it came from, what it's related to, what it might be capable of, and where it could go. And when you start to see this emergence, this idea emergence happening in your own notes, or just in the world around you, like in the example of this video with Stranger Things and Kate Bush's song, it's just incredibly empowering and satisfying. And I hope you get a sense of it, because once you get that sense, you'll want to have that sense happen more, and you kind of feel more capable of just moving around in the world and making sense of it and creating value as you go. So I'll share a few links in the description below for those who really want to know more about Idea Emergence. And yeah, as always, until next time, stay connected.